Yes.
What is shaking, y'all? It's episode 56, Golden Mike, live with our guest, Nicole Wipp. Nicole Wipp worked in, you worked in this sort of industry of lawyers for over 10 years. You're still in it right now. Nicole Wipp started your second company, which is looking at the way that we are more productive in what we do, more intentional about what we do. Speed is a part of it. So there's a second company that you opened up, and Nicole Wipp, who is going to be talking to us about how to work only 5 days a month. 5 days a month. It's like freaking Tim Ferriss stuff going on today here. So just in case you haven't met me, my name is Marc Cordone. I'm the founder of the Make Money Coaching Program, but more importantly, I'm a positive psychology coach, which means two things. When you wake up every single morning consistently, are you feeling happy? Are you feeling happy? The second thing is when you wake up every single morning, are you feeling a sense of fulfillment, a sense of what you're brought here on the universe to do? You're serving it in full capacity. Now, with that said, Nicole, are you living life to its fullest and happy today?
You know, I always am trying. I think that I'm definitely the kind of person that's really never satisfied. And that is just I've accepted that about myself. I used to actually beat myself up about it, but now it's just part of who I am. And I know it, but I would say, yeah, like I definitely feel really good about where I am right now and what I'm doing. And, but I know I am the kind of person that's always like, but I could take it up a notch, just one more notch, just one more, just one more.
Yeah, you always want to take it that one notch. Like, she's the one person that, like, she goes up to the guitar amp and it goes to 10 and she's like, no, we're turning it to 11, baby.
Yeah.
So
don't tell me we can't.
Yeah, so with that totally makes sense. Now, for those of you who are watching the replay or watching the live, let us know what's going on. If you are feeling like you're happy on a daily basis for most of the days, and if you feel like for most of the days you're living in purpose, let me see your hands go up like this with me, Wipp. Put your hands up with me, Wipp. Make a heart. I want y'all who are living in full purpose, feeling happy every day, to give Nicole and I some hearts. Let's see those hearts beat. Let's see you pressing those buttons. Let's know who's living in full purpose and full happiness. So that's the thing about that. Now, here's the other thing. Positive psychology is oftentimes interpreted as, well, every single day we're happy. Every single day it's shits and giggles. Every single day it's Taco Tuesday. And I'm like, well, I'm riding a unicorn and it's shit and skittles across the land. That is not what positive psychology is all about. Positive psychology is the idea that we have our ups, we have our downs, we have our all arounds. It gives us the permission to feel the feels when we're not feeling so good. Also, at the same time, it is normal for you to wake up and say, I'm just not feeling it today. I do not want to hear Cordone's voice. I'm in a bad mood. I'm sad. Those are very real. Those are very real emotions as well. Flip to the other side. You could have been working in a job for like 30 straight years, saying, the only reason I do this is so that I can retire and then do all the things that I want to do when I retire. But I don't really have any passion for this. So you can't really give us a heart. You're giving us a thumbs up. If you are not there yet, Your heart beats just like Nicole and I's. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you're living. That's a part of your hero's journey. And at moments when you can, enjoy it. Enjoy those moments because that defines who you are. All right? So here's the last one. We don't know if we're going to get Wipp to do it, but let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. Here's the big one. We're doing the ups, the downs, the all arounds. Our emotions are everywhere. We're doing all these things. But one of the big things that happens is that we get stuck in the now. We see how crappy it is, or we see how much better it could be, and we look to tomorrow and we realize tomorrow is a better place. We're optimistic about where we're going to go tomorrow. We're optimistic that no matter where we are, tomorrow will still be better. So for those of you who are optimistic about where you are, there's another button down there, another button that Wipp is going to demonstrate for us, and I'll demonstrate it with Wipp. It's called the wow face. So if you're feeling that, show us a wow face. Wipp, what do you got? What do you got? Wipp covered her face. Covered her face. It was like Edvard Munch. That's like the screamer. Absolutely, Wipp. We're going to be talking about those 5 hours, those 5-hour work months. I cannot wait to hear about that. But even more than that, I want to hear your story, Nicole. What's the backstory behind all of this?
Yeah, so I'm definitely the typical serial entrepreneur person, right? And I have started businesses ever since I can remember. I was doing like trying to do little things to make money even in college. Like when I was in college, I used to throw parties to make money. And I would pay my rent through throwing like these giant beer bashes at my house. And like that's the kind of thing I just always have done, sort of random things to make money. And one of the things that happened to me after I graduated from college was I went to work, at a regular company, and I struggled. Even though I did well, I personally struggled. And I just realized like working for somebody else wasn't really going to be my path. But it's funny because, you get in these places where, you're on a path and you think that that's what you should do. And, I'm from the Midwest and, I'm very much like from a what you should do kind of culture and background. And so it was something that I was struggling with, like what I should be doing versus what I wanted to do, what I felt was best for me, all those things. Like I couldn't get my own head around it. And so I struggled a lot when I was in my early 20s. And then long story short, I ended up going to law school and I went later on, but that was a long story short. And then, once again, I went through all the shoulds. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And when I started my law practice, one of the things that happened to me was I quickly realized that I was not going to be capable of doing all the things. Like that, I got to a point because I was doing really well in my practice, but I was tapped out on my ability to make money, and I was tapped out on my ability to create time. And so, and a lot of entrepreneurs can really resonate with that. It doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to be a lawyer for this to happen to you. You can be a coach. You can be, you can do anything, right? And there gets to be a point where you hit an income and time ceiling. And that's what I did. So I realized, okay, in order to get time back, first of all, I have to hire somebody. But what happened to me and what I've learned happens to so many people and entrepreneurs, this is such a big deal. In fact, I call it the entrepreneur's dirty little secret, because what happens to people is they get stuck with the people that they hire. you hire somebody and you think, oh, this is going to be a really good thing for me. And then you hire them and then they don't work out. Like things aren't going too well with the person. And you can't figure out why they're like, why can't they do this? This isn't rocket science. Why is everything so hard? Like, why does this person like suddenly hate me? Because I'm a likable person, but like these people hate me, or this person hates me, and like I sort of hate them, and and they're so stupid. And why can't they figure it out? I mean, you go through a lot of things, and I definitely did, and I know other people do too, because I have this conversation with people all the time. And so, but the problem with it is that entrepreneurs tend to feel like it's a personal feeling, and it's something that they don't want to talk about because, you see other people with a team and you're like, well, what's my problem? Or really probably you're blaming the other person, your team member, what's their problem? And I can't find anybody good, and I can't do anything right. If I want anything done right, I have to do it myself. Like these are all the things that we tell ourselves.
What's interesting is you either go into blame mode, right? Or you go into comparison trap. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to compare so and so to what they're doing with their team, and their team is kicking so much ass right now. And like my team like just put the thing on Canva, sucker. Like it's little tiny things. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I went through all of that. In fact, I have this whole period of time in my company where I think I cried every single day for like 90 days straight. Every time I went to my office, or every time I had to deal with my team, I hated them. They hated me. And for somebody like, I'm not a super people pleaser. Like a lot of people are very people pleasing people. I'm not like as people pleasing in inclination as some people are maybe, but I'm not the kind of person that really wants to have conflict in my life. Like I don't look for conflict in my life. It's not something I want. And I certainly don't want it on a daily basis. I certainly don't want it with my team. And so I was just so stressed out. I was losing my mind. I was like, maybe I should just quit this altogether. I just didn't know what to do. And in fact, I went through this whole thing where I said to my husband, I'm like, I think I just need to quit and go like work at a fast food restaurant or something. Like, because that's literally how frustrated I was. I was just like, I can't do this. I'm not cut out for it. And I can't do all this work, but I can't have these people. Like, I was so burnt out, burnt out. Sure. And then I don't exactly remember what happened. And I wish I could remember, because I think it would be a great teaching moment, but I don't remember. But all I know is I had a moment where I did finally step back, and I was like, you know what? I think that I am the problem. Like, it isn't them. Like, I can sit here and I can blame all these people, but it isn't them that's the problem, it's me. And the minute I realized that was the minute that I could take control of the situation, because I knew that I could control my own behavior and my own way of dealing with people and my own way of being a leader to other people. I just had to figure it out. And I think like that's the biggest problem that some people have is like I don't know. People think that like being the leader of a team is somehow innate, or it's somehow like just something that you could just automatically do. It actually is not. It's a total skill set. And it's a skill set that you have to actually learn and or develop.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So I've got a bunch of questions here.
Okay, go for it.
You threw a bunch of stuff, so I'm throwing this down there. I'm seeing what sticks, Wipp. I think the first question I have to ask you is, little Nicole Wipp running around, like when you were smaller, what was your hopes and dreams, and what did you think you would be when you grew up?
Well, you know what's funny is I think that I thought that I was going to be a lawyer from a very young age. I think, people would tell me that, like, yo, you're going to be a lawyer. Like, I just remember that being something from the time maybe I was in third grade, because I was always like one of the smart kids, right? Like, and so back then that was sort of a natural tie-in and I like to talk. So those two things sort of tied in together. Like because you like to talk and because you might be a smart kid, then maybe you're going to be a lawyer. Like, and you know, looking back on it, was it the perfect career choice? I don't know. It doesn't even matter at this point.
Yeah.
But I definitely thought I was going to be. But it wasn't a straight path. I mean, I did not go from high school to college to law school. I went from high school to college, had many years between college and law school. So I had to come to it.
Okay, and coming to a place where you've got this nice little you know, you're both internally and externally what you wanted to become as a kid, you became, you became that lawyer, right?
Right.
So why the need to start a side hustle what started off as a side hustle that was an entrepreneurial venture?
Well, the thing is, Mark, before I went to law school and even during law school and after law school, I have started probably 15 businesses since college. I have had everything. I had an import export business from Bali at one point. I had a high-end skincare store, both online and offline, that was very successful. I mean, I was in real estate for a while. I mean, I've done so many things. Like if you knew my friends that have known me forever, they're like, Wipp, she does everything. Like they're just always like, oh God, what's she gonna do next? So it isn't weird that I have a second business. Like it would be weirder if I just stayed doing one thing than it would ever be for me to be doing multiple things.
Yeah, and Wipp, what have you learned from those multiple jobs? What would you say have been the biggest takeaways that have made you who you are? That either a moment that happened, or you got fired, or you pulled in a team. Like, what were some of the moments that really changed who you were, or where you learned something major from all of that? Because that's nice and rich, fertile soil for you to grow something in there.
Well, that actually ties right back into this whole idea about having a team. Because one of the things that I learned throughout doing all these different things is that I specifically am what I would call a thrill of the kill kind of person. And what I mean by that is I learned that I really like to start things, but I am not the person that wants to take them all the way to the finish line and finish them. And this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs are like, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the person that is going to take a project from all the way from beginning to end. That is not who I am. And if I try to be that person, I can do it. See, I'm functionally capable, just like so many of us are, right? Like I'm capable of doing it, but I get tired of it. I get bored with it. I burn out of it. I don't want to do that. And so this was something that I learned from years and years of like starting things, and they would be really successful, but then I'd get bored of them and then they just sort of fade away. And what I had to learn was if I wanted to keep it, I had to have a team to keep it going. Yeah. And I had to let myself be me. So I had to be okay with being the person that rallied the troops, got everybody excited, got everybody on board. Don't take no for an answer. Like, this is who I am. Like, you can't tell me that we can't do something, because that's laying down the gauntlet. And so I don't accept that answer from my team. I'm always like, no, don't tell me we can't. I want to know how we can. I don't ever want to hear that we can't. And so, but those things, the failures and the successes I had over the years, I learned those things about myself in doing those things. And so I never, you know how there's like that, you never fail really, it's just a learning experience. Well, it sounds so trite, but it's so true, because that's exactly the fact. Like, I just learned that. Now, I wish I wouldn't have taken so many times to learn it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. So what would you say have been some of either the biggest skills that you've learned from it, or the biggest takeaways that you've gotten from working with, moving up and working with the team now?
All right. So before I tell you that, it's really important that I tell you some data, some statistics. And this is something that if you're somebody that's an entrepreneur, or you're starting a business, or you're in business, that if you know this, then it will tell you something about who you are as an entrepreneur and who you are as a business. And this is what it is. So according to the US Small Business Administration, 75% of US businesses have no employees. And now when we talk about no employees, what we mean is literally no employees, or like for those of you that have a quote unquote virtual team where you're just sort of outsourcing things here and there and everywhere to people, that's not employees. That's just outsourcing specific tasks to people. So that would be considered no employees. But the average revenue of those businesses is only $46,000 a year. Now, for businesses that do expand, 60% of the businesses that expand, the average team size is 4 people. And for those US businesses, the average revenue is about $387,000. So if you look at it now, we're 10xing about the individual revenue of each person. Okay. Now, though, let's even take it up another notch and talk about Fortune 500 companies, which the per employee average revenue is $400,000 per employee. So if you heard what I just said, and you can think about it. So $46,000 for a solopreneur, $387,000 for a team of 4. These are the averages. And then Fortune 500 companies, $400,000 per employee. Now we can see a clear correlation to team having its impact on revenue, right? And so now, your numbers can be very different than this. I mean, we all know people that have $1 million solo businesses, although I sort of think that's a bunch of crap. And in fact, I know it's a bunch of crap for the most part. Like some people will get to $1 million here or there, but they can't sustain it year after year. And so part of it is also when we talk about the 5-day a month, work month, what we're looking at is sustainability over the course of years. I mean, this is a company, my law firm is a company that I've sustained well over a decade, year after year after year after year. We make more revenue every single year, and I'm working less and less and less, and yet we're making more and more money. And so isn't that what we all want? I mean, that's what we want, is to work less, but make more. But how do you do it? Well, part of the way you do it is by having a great team. And so all of those things are the reasons why, if you're the kind of person that really is resistant to that, because a lot of entrepreneurs are resistant to having a team. Yeah, right. Then if you're thinking about who am I and who do I want to be as an entrepreneur in the future, and you understand that statistically being a solopreneur is going to keep you locked in a box financially for the rest of your life, maybe you should rethink it. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And maybe you shouldn't. I mean, listen, I'm not telling anybody how to feel about their business and what they want from their life. But when people tell me they want to make more money and they want to scale, well, I'm telling you right now, this is one of the easiest ways to do it if you do it right. And that's the second part of the equation, is that you have to be able to do it right. And that's the challenging part, of course.
Okay. So let's talk about doing it right. I wanted to throw this out there. We got our sister Liz who's watching. More people would
so they would make more. They would stay in if they were making that much. The Fortune 500's making that much money per employee, Liz, not the actual employees, right?
Yeah.
I mean, company's revenue, not the employees' revenue. The company's making that much money per employee. And so, right, that's why corporations are pulling in the dough, right?
The machine, baby. The machine.
Yeah, it's like an ATM machine for them.
Yeah. So talk to us about that sort of, before we even go to forming teams, when is it the right time to go from, okay, here I am busting butt 24/7. Things are looking good. I'm making above 40,000 right now. I'm pushing up. But at what point do I start thinking about a team?
As soon as possible.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you can't actually do it yet, you need to start thinking about it now, immediately, as soon as possible. Because, right? I mean, and we know this, Now, Marc, one of the things that you and I have talked about in the past is I'm not so woo-woo, right? Like that's
You're
not
not.
really Nicole. But I do know in the power of the mind to make things real. I mean, there is no question that when I think something and I am positive that I can make it be real, it will be real if I am focused on making it real. And so, what I would encourage each one of you to think about is, how do I make it real? Even if it's not right this minute, you start putting your mind to it, because then what happens is you just naturally start taking micro actions that will lead you to that point. And you start making micro decisions about what you should be doing to lead you to that point. And so, I tell you, you want to start thinking about it immediately, because if you're going to start any kind of business, why start a business if your intention isn't to grow it and to have it be sustainable for you over the course of time? But nobody is that superhuman where they can keep up that 24/7 pace for years and years and years. Or if they do, they get sick, they die, they get cancer, they get this, they get that. It's just not a way to be. And who wants to live life that way, right?
Yeah, it's absolute burnout.
Yeah, you don't want to go there. And so, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, oh my God, can I do this 20 years from now? Can I see myself acting how I am right now 20 years from now? And of course, the answer is hell no, right? That's number one. But then even if it's next year, I can't. Well, right, then that's when you have to be like, how can I get other people to help me in a way that is healthy for me, but also for them?
Okay. And
a big part of it.
How did you go about answering that?
So I think the very first step is getting absolute clarity on who you are and what your highest and best use is within your business. So that's part of why I created that quiz that, you have directed people to, is so that you could start to see, like, what are your instincts, and then where are your instincts going to be best utilized in a team environment, and where are your challenges going to be? Where are your opportunities and where are your challenges? Because when you understand that, then you can start relating the challenges part to tasks that other people can do. And that is a great, great thing. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of entrepreneurs making is they think to themselves, the first person I have to hire is is somebody to do some type of sales for me, right? Or marketing.
When they can't make a damn sale themselves.
Well, right. Or though, when I'm saying it's a mistake, is for the people that they actually can make sales. So a lot of the entrepreneurs that I deal with are really naturally good salespeople.
Okay.
Like they're really good at explaining their business, or good at explaining their product or service and why it's valuable. And so why would you outsource that to somebody else if that's one of the things that you are really good? The reason why you want to is because all you can think is, I need to make more money, right?
Gotcha.
But the way that you make more money is you do more of that by doing less of something else that somebody else does.
So really playing to your strengths, is what I'm hearing.
And forgetting, I am a firm believer in, you don't need to overcome your weaknesses ever. It's never about overcoming your weaknesses. You hire for your weakness. You play to your strengths. The weakness is irrelevant, as long as you can hire somebody for it. And guess what? You always can.
Okay. That makes total sense. And I think it also makes total sense that you have to have crystal clear clarity of what it is that you stand for, because when someone comes into the organization, the areas that are unclear, they'll pick up on it. They'll be like, what are you doing? So what are some other tips in terms of getting ready to go and bring some people on board? You're a one-person show, and now you're about to start moving up, scaling it up.
I think the first hire is always going to be the person that's going to take away the most immediate pain point that you have. So, like for me, anything that's related to following all the way through a process and tying up the loose end is my, like, I peter out after a certain point in a process, right? And so I need somebody that's going to, I can pass the ball to them and they're going to run it and take it to the finish line, or pass the baton, or however you want to look at it. So, or, anything that's a repetitive task, I am so not good at. And so, like, for me, my most immediate pain point was doing the things that required a consistent follow-up, consistent follow-through, a consistent quality of service that I just didn't have. I can do it. Going back to this, like, it's never about whether you're functionally capable of doing something. Of course you are, if you're a thinking, intelligent person, but what gives you energy and what takes it away. So if you look at it in terms of what is sucking the life out of you, that's the thing that you should hire for first.
Gotcha.
Because even if you can get back that much energy, just having somebody take on those things, it can mean it's a game changer. It's an immediate game changer.
Okay. Huge thanks. If you guys are watching the live, or you're watching the replay right now, let us know if you're picking up what Wipp is throwing down. We got a couple people here. Liz is here with us saying hi. She's agreeing. Yup.
Liz.
Yup. So Liz, if you have any questions about this, I'm not sure where you are in the process, but if you have any questions, now's the time to be asking about those questions. What do you see as, I'm looking at this thing where people will oftentimes have their strengths and then they'll hire a team and the team takes over as this person's strengths, right? What do you often see as some like rookie mistakes when folks are making that jump from being a one person show to like a multi-person show?
So I think the biggest rookie mistake that people make is believing that you somehow will have an instinct about who's the right person. That is, and especially for people that feel that they are really good with people and are, very intuitive about people. I can promise you that it's a crapshoot. If you're using your intuition as your deciding mechanism about who to hire for your team, then the only way you're going to be successful is because you got lucky. So, and the reason why I'm saying that is I'm not just saying this, I don't want, because I know people are going to get all pissed and, I'll be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, there has been study after study after study after study that when you hire just on resume in an interview, you have just as much chance of hiring a successful person as you do if you just hire off of resume. Like, the interview does nothing to tell you more. And that's where you think your intuition's coming into play. And so that's the biggest rookie mistake. And, and if you think about it, that's also one of the reasons why it's interesting, because that's the conventional wisdom method of hiring, right? Resume interview. Yeah. Right. But that's why, across all companies of all sizes, people problems are one of the top three problems. It's people, profit, and process. And those are the top three problems of companies of all sizes, no matter where you are. And so people, profit, and process, and part of it has to do with the way that we hire people. It's just not effective.
So talk to me about hiring. What would be some things we should consider when it comes to effective hiring?
Well, it has to be about hiring the right people to do the right job. And what I mean by that, and of course, like, if I was listening to myself right now, I'd be like, yeah, duh. But what I mean by that is hiring somebody that's instinctively going to be excellent at doing certain types of things. And I'm not talking from a skill set base. I'm talking about it from an instinct basis. So what an example of this is, one of my main assistant that works with me is instinctively an organized, do this, very sequential person. She's instinctively sequential. So I have hired her to do things that require a high level of sequential action.
Mm-hmm.
And if I tried to get her to be like me, which is non-sequential all day, all the time, she would have a breakdown and want to kill me. And similarly, if I hired myself to do her job, I would have a nervous breakdown and want to kill her, right? So it's like you can't hire somebody that doesn't have an instinctive want or need to be sequential to do a sequential job. Like they have to be able to do that. And so that's something that you really need to understand. So we would call somebody like that, like if you took my quiz, somebody that is very like that, a very structured person, is a structured planner. They're the kind of person that really wants to create order out of chaos and will finish the thing. Right?
Okay.
We'll go all the way to the end. But they're not necessarily the person that wants to sit and brainstorm and come up with a bunch of new ideas and, try a new thing every single other minute. And, they want to finish what they started. That's great.
That's probably you.
Huh?
That's probably you, more along the lines of you, like coming up with these generating. Yeah. It's really coming together right now. Like a few minutes ago, you talked about the idea of clarity. And the more clarity you have, the easier it is for folks that you onboard, the folks that you hire, to see what it is that they're supposed to do within the organization. The other thing, though, is that clarity, you'll be able to see the things that you're good at. I call these the $1 million things, right? These are the things that you can only be paid $1 million for because no one else can do it, right? And then there's the $1, $10 things, and that's things that anybody can do. Anyone can get into Acuity and book a Golden Mike Live, right? But then when you're distributing your energy, it's only like a cup full of M&Ms, right? Every time you do something, you're taking a cup out of that, or an M&M out of that cup until it's zero. So like you want to be taking out those golden ones every time, right? I don't know if that makes any sense. And so when it comes to the hiring process, it's less about instinct and more about, let's look at this person's skill set. Let's look at if it's pairing up with my needs, and not my needs from a standpoint of my strengths, the challenges that I'm having from being a visionary and following through. This person will follow through. So I don't know if that makes sense.
But it is more than just about their skill set. I mean,
okay.
And I do want to really make sure people understand that, because of course they need to have a skill set, right? Like I'm not going to hire somebody to be an administrative assistant in a law firm that doesn't know how to use a computer. They have to have the skill of being able to type and do those types of things, right? But it's more about, or just as importantly, it's about, do they have the instinctive desire to be doing that type of work? Is that fit with their own mental energy? Because my mental energy isn't related to sequentialness, but my assistant's is. Her mental energy is very closely aligned with that. And so what is their mental energy, and does that align with the tasks I need them to do? That's really where I think that's the missing component that so many people don't have when they hire, is they aren't looking at an individual. And the biggest problem with that is most people don't know this about themselves. Like if I went and asked 10 people to tell me what their instincts are in relation to these different types of things, I would get a lot of baloney answers. And the reason is because people will very often only tell you what they're capable of doing, but not what their instinctive mental energy is. So if I'm sitting there and I'm interviewing you for a job, let's say, Marc, and you really want this job, or you think you want this job, like you think you want to work with me, in what planet would you tell me that you can't, follow through on a task that I gave you?
Not this planet.
Right. Nobody will say that to you. And it's not because they're trying to lie to you. They are capable of following through on something, let's say. But do they have the instinctive energy to do it day in and day out, if that's what I need them to be like? That's the question. And most people's self-awareness isn't that high. And so that's why we have to test people for those things, in my opinion. Like, we have to give them, we have to test them for it before we hire them, before we even make the decision to hire them.
Okay. Now, your folks are all in different places, or they're all with you? They're all in the same...
No, my team works in my office, but I also have and have worked with people virtually. But I would go through this process with people regardless.
Okay.
There's a difference between hiring somebody to be a team member, a true team member, an actual employee, and hiring somebody to do a specific sort of finite thing. So if I'm hiring somebody to manage my social media presence, and they have like 5 things that they have to do, and it's sort of like this little bubble, then that's one thing. But in a real functioning workplace, you need people that are going to be there all day, every day, that are going to keep the system running. And so when you want to work 5 days a month, you can't hire people that all they do are these 5 things and that's all they're ever capable of doing, because you never train them beyond that, and they don't have cross capability. If you're having a real team, everybody has got some level of awareness and capability of doing each other's jobs, so that if one of them gets hit by a car or goes on vacation, the other ones can temporarily pick up the slack, right? Or like with me, one of the things that happened was I got sick. I was out of my company for 90 days. My team picked up the slack, and we went on to make more money that year than ever. And the reason that we were is because I had the right team.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Like, hiring people to do specific types of little things, like your virtual team kind of situation, is one thing. But hiring true team members, that's a different thing.
Okay. Gotcha. Nicole Wipp, I've heard enough.
Yeah, I've heard a lot.
I have had enough of you, Nicole Wipp. We've done a full hour. Don't you like how it flows by?
Yes.
It's fun.
Awesome. It is. You're the best. Thank you, Marc.
And we didn't even get to talk music this time around, so we're gonna have to have you back. I loved the fact that you talked from sort of where we all start out as solopreneurs, whatever you want to call it, and things grow, right? Like when we first grow, the initial drama is drama inside our head. Like, am I good enough to do this? Should I sell it at this? Should I sell it at this? But then there comes a point where straight up things like administration, straight up things like posting, gets really, really rough. And to have a team that gets exactly what it is that you stand for and can grow from there. I mean, we're not only talking about growth of the company, we're talking about growth of the, growth of the money that's coming back to that company. And I would say, finally, the number of people that this company serves, they're just finding out about it. How long did it take you to go from this singular person to
where you are now? A year and a half.
Damn.
But then there was some bumps, and there's always still bumps. It's part of being a leader. You have to accept the fact that it's not always going to be smooth, and that's part of being an entrepreneur, is it's not smooth. But to get to a point where I had a much higher level of freedom, and we were also making a lot more money, I'd say a good year and a half it took me. But I mean, there's a way. That's partly because I had to figure it all out by myself. Right. That's the goal. Is I don't want everybody to have to figure it out by themselves. There's ways to take massive shortcuts.
Sure. So you've talked about this a couple times. What is this inventory that you're talking about?
What, my quiz?
Yeah, your quiz.
Yeah, so basically what it does is it takes you through these 8 questions, and then it puts you in, sort of looks at you as one of 3 main categories, which is flexible adapter, fine tuner, or structured planner. And this is all related to process and how you deal with process as a person on a team. And then it tells you, well, here are your strengths in this respect, and here are your challenges. And this is really great because what it does is it gives you some nuances. They are not related to personality, but more towards your sort of instinctive mental energy, so that you can then say, okay, well, then if this is where I'm at and I really need somebody to be over here, then I want, like, for me, I have to have somebody that's a structured planner as part of my team, because I am on the very opposite end of that. I'm what we would call in my world a flexible adapter. And so I need a structured planner, but me working with a structured planner is very challenging because the way our brains work, we don't understand each other. And so we have to have the right tools to know how to work together in a successful relationship. That's one of the reasons why often when we hire somebody, that situation breaks down, is because the way your brain works is so different than the way that other person's brain works, that you can't even understand each other. And there's a lot of tanglement that happens by even just starting to do this quiz. You'll see the part of the reason why you're having those challenges. Like I have on here, you can get this. It'll give you a caution. Like, here's the things that will happen if you are a structured planner working with a fine tuner. Well, here's the things that are going to happen that are going to cause challenges in it. So it's really sort of in depth for an 8-question quiz. I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback on it. And so it's just something to know about yourself. And then it's also, if you're going to hire somebody too, you have to say, what kind of person do I want, and do they fit that bill?
So I'm sure that you may not even need to take these tests right now because well, sorry, I turned off my mic. Can you hear me?
I can. Yep.
Okay. So sometimes you might not even need to take these tests right now because you are so used to the different styles that you can see if 2 people will work together. Like, here's a finisher, and here they have to take the.
Because this is what I was saying earlier. Like, I have been doing this for years. I train big, huge companies on this stuff and little tiny companies on this. That's one of the things that my other company does, is I do training and consulting on this stuff. And that's the thing, is you don't have a natural, like, I can sort of guess, but I don't ever really know, because sometimes people act outside of their instinct as a job necessity.
Yep.
And they get confused about who they are. That's why people go through years of being miserable at work. And so you don't want to rely on your instinct, even when you're experienced with it. And I would never rely on my instinct. And I can tell you, Marc, that I have tried to rely on my instinct, and I have been very sad about it every single time. Even though I do this day in and day out, we live and breathe this as a company. Like, this is how we operate. This is how we relate to each other as a company. I mean, I teach this to people. It's like, what I do every single day. And yet I know now better than to rely on my own instinct when it comes to another people, because people don't always show up honestly, and for a variety of reasons, not because they're trying to be dishonest necessarily. It's just that sometimes we get trained into behaviors that aren't really true to who we are.
Okay. So when we're talking about entrepreneurial instinct, it's something that you use still for yourself, and you use it for the folks who are applying for the positions in your organization.
Yeah. In fact,
that's awesome.
I'm about to redo this as sort of a teamwork instinct thing, because it's really meant to be for anybody. It's meant to look at each person that's within a team and see where they should be fitting, and are they going to be the right fit for what you need them to do.
Oh, love it. Love it. Wipp, you've said enough. You've absolutely said enough, Wipp. Whip, did I wake up, by the way, when we got on the phone?
You did.
When we got
I'm
on,
really proud of you because you were so chill. I was like, Mark, are you okay? And now
I was just like really
love it.
happy he was chill. So here's the thing, y'all. Whip's got this assessment that you can take regardless of your place right now. It's awareness is always a big deal, but especially if you're working in teams, especially if you're working in HR, this is a great place to like get to know each other, right? Entrepreneurs, I mean, that's my next step, is bringing in a team and letting go of the things that I don't know if I'm quite ready to let go of. But knowing that there's someone there that can take an idea and pull it all the way to the end, that's amazing. Now,
Well, you know
Nicole,
what, Mark? The minute you do it, you'll be like, holy mackerel, how did I ever think I needed to be a control freak about every single thing? Because I am
yeah,
the biggest control freak on the planet. You can even ask my current team. But man, when I just trust them to be awesome, which they
yeah,
are, they show up. They're adults. They're smart. They show up. And
gotcha.
when I hire them to do the right things, they show up. And it's such a game changer that I wish it for every entrepreneur. I wish it
That's
for
awesome.
everybody. The freedom of being able to work what you do best, allowing other people to do, the freedom of time, the freedom of money. I mean, the freedom of relationship with people that you want to work with. These are all amazing things for entrepreneurs. And like, I wish that for every single person.
Oh, I wish it too. And so I want you to sprinkle that magical fairy dust over
Like,
me
yeah,
now because
magic.
I want that to happen. Okay, quick question. Best Motley Crue song of all time?
Oh my God. In the beginning.
Oh, wrong. Too young to fall in love.
Oh, yeah. See, but that's
Oh.
not old school enough for me, man. That's
We'll
not
come
old
back
school
to
enough.
it.
I'm
We're
old.
we're gonna come back to. You are not old. Look at you. Like we're the same age. We're like in our
No,
20s.
you're not.
Yes, we are. Stop fighting me with me.
You're like, be quiet, Whip.
Be quiet, Whip.
Shut it.
So, Whip, I wanted to thank you on behalf of just everyone who was here today. Jen, Elizabeth, Whip, you put it in there. We also had some great people making comments. Michelle Gomez, Callie Cummings, Courtney Carroll, Sampath, Mark McQuinney, Nicole Wipp again. You showed up.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
had to push the button.
yeah, I want you guys to share it if you loved it. I want you to like Nicole. I want you to love Nicole. I want you to want some more of Nicole, and I want you to share it out. This is some pretty interesting stuff because oftentimes folks get stuck thinking that there needs to be one certain way, that one certain thing needs to be done, and that's the path to happiness. And they can't be any more wrong. It's a path to depression oftentimes. And it's a path to loneliness once you go and achieve that. This is why this part is called the golden mic, Whip.
I love
So
it.
I want you to imagine a golden mic is coming down now from the ceiling, and that golden mic is stopping right in front of you. And for 2 minutes, this golden mic translates all across the world into every language. Everyone is listening. So when I click the golden mic, Nicole Wipp, your golden mic is now live.
Well, I just want, like I said, one of the things I want, especially for entrepreneurs, is to have a sustainable, successful business that makes money, more money year after year after year after year, with way less pressure for you every single year. So the idea of scalability, but without the burnout and without all of the things that happen. So that's really what I wish for entrepreneurs. But the reality is that it's not so easy. There's so much shiny objects out there. There's so many people telling you all the things that you should do. And to be honest with you, there are a lot of people out there that are really full of it, about their level of success, about what they're really accomplishing, about what's really going on in their businesses. And so, if we could put all of that aside and just focus in on our own businesses and really making them as great as we can make them, but with the least amount of stress and pressure on us as possible, isn't that really what it's all about? And so that's what I want for my fellow entrepreneurs. It's what I want for my own self. That's what I want for my team. I want it for your teams. And that's really what all of this is really supposed to be about.
Wipp, I want you to take that golden mic. And I want you to drop that golden mic out like it's hot. Boom! Wipp, I've connected to you since the very first time we talked. You never stopped surprising me. We started talking about 80s and 90s bands and all this good stuff. And now here we are, and you're just totally blowing my socks off when it comes to this assessment that you have and the way that your approach to sustainability and living life 5 days a week, like 5 day working life 5 days a week, 5 days over the course of 1 month. It's pretty amazing. If those of you haven't seen the whole thing, you're going to want to watch it from the beginning, because she takes it and she just grows it. And that's the feeling I get when you're working with your client. They take it and they grow it. I guess I got one final question for you. How many clients come in and they're like, I don't think I'm ready to grow it yet? Or are they at the point where it's like, I know I'm ready to grow it. I want to do it right?
People are usually coming to me when they have really realized that it's not as easy as they thought it was going to be in terms of bringing on a team, that they can't just hire somebody and then just it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks. So most people that are coming to me are people that have already experienced some pain in that respect. And they want to now sort of ramp that up in the fastest and easiest way possible. And they don't want to figure it all out on their own. They're the shortcut people that want to take a real quick success shortcut and just say, do this to get the whole team on board. And we're working a lot of times with the team members themselves to understand how to be good to their entrepreneur, because that's part of it. Is a lot of times team members don't understand what it's like to work in an entrepreneurial team. And that's part of what we're training them up to do.
Freaking awesome. So you have the assessment. This is Nicole's email address. If you have anything that you want to ask, please do. Given all of that, Nicole, it's been an honor to have you on. You're awesome. Love you like a sister. I hope that we're in the same city sometime real soon. And if not, we're going to be talking about music real soon. This has been episode 57 of the Golden Mike Live. And I've got one final question for you. On behalf of Nicole, on behalf of Marc, when you're feeling great and you're operating to your full fulfillment, what is your obligation to the greater good? All right. So we will see you soon. Take care. See you tomorrow. And thanks again, Nicole. Peace out.
Thank you, Marc. It was great.
Oh.